You paused. Right there, just now, something made you stop scrolling and click on this message. That wasn't random. That wasn't the algorithm being clever. That was quantum coherence recognizing itself through you. And the fact that you're still here, still reading, still feeling that inexplicable pull to continue, tells me everything I need to know about where you are in your journey. You're done being a passive observer of your life. You're ready to become the conscious creator you've always sensed you could be. Let me guess what brought you here. You've been feeling it lately, haven't you? That gnawing sense that you're living on autopilot, reacting to life instead of creating it. You wake up and before your feet hit the floor, your mind is already racing through yesterday's problems and tomorrow's anxieties. Your attention scattered across 1,000 concerns, none of which are actually happening right now. You've tried everything, meditation apps, manifestation journals, positive thinking, but something's still missing. The gap between who you are and who you know you could be feels wider than ever. The pain isn't that your life is terrible. The pain is that you know it could be magnificent, and you can't figure out why it isn't. You sense your power but can't access it consistently. You glimpse your potential in moments of clarity, then watch helplessly as old patterns pull you back into reactive living. You're tired of being tossed around by circumstances, exhausted from trying to think your way into a different reality, frustrated that despite all your knowledge, nothing fundamentally changes. Here's what no one's told you. You're not broken. You're broadcasting static. Your frequency is scattered because you've been taught to manage life from your head while ignoring the intelligence of your entire being. You've been trying to change your reality by changing your thoughts, but thoughts are just one instrument in an entire orchestra. Until every part of you, mind, emotion, body, and field, plays the same note, you're sending mixed signals to a universe that can only reflect back what you consistently transmit. Today, that changes. Not through another technique or system, but through understanding the fundamental mechanics of how consciousness creates reality. You're about to discover why that pause when you saw this video was actually your future self, already living your desired reality, reaching back through quantum entanglement to guide you home. You're going to learn how to shift from observer to initiator, from reactor to creator, from static to signal. But first, if you're feeling that recognition, that cellular yes that knows this message is specifically for you, do something powerful right now. Subscribe to this channel and type 1011 in the comments. Not as a wishful ritual, but as a quantum declaration that you're ready to stop watching reality happen and start commanding it. That simple 111 is your signal to the field that you're shifting from passive to active, from hoping to knowing. What you're about to learn isn't New Age speculation or wishful thinking. It's the practical application of quantum mechanics to everyday life. It's how consciousness actually interfaces with the field of possibility. It's why some people seem to bend reality, while others feel bent by it. And most importantly, it's completely accessible to you right now without any special talent or years of practice. The shift from accidental to intentional living happens in an instant. The moment you understand that every second you're either reinforcing old patterns or installing new ones. Every breath is either reactive or creative. Every thought either maintains your current timeline or begins shifting you to a new one. There's no neutral ground in consciousness. You're always creating. The only question is whether you're doing it consciously or by default. This moment right now is your threshold, not tomorrow, not after you've prepared, not when conditions are perfect. This exact moment where your consciousness meets this message is the doorway between who you've been and who you're becoming. But here's what most people don't understand about thresholds. They're not about stepping through. They're about recognizing you've already arrived. The fact that this message found you today at this precise moment in your life isn't coincidence, it's coherence. Your energy field has been shifting, whether you've noticed it or not. Every time you've questioned the status quo, every moment you've felt there must be more, every instance you've sensed your own untapped power. These weren't random thoughts. They were your consciousness gradually increasing its frequency until it matched the vibration of this information. You didn't find this message, you became ready for it and it appeared. Think about how attention actually works. Scientists have discovered that before you consciously decide to focus on something, your brain has already begun orienting toward it. Your unconscious processes are constantly scanning the field, filtering through infinite data, selecting what matches your current frequency. This means that what you notice isn't random. It's a precise measurement of your energetic state. The fact that you noticed this message, that something made you pause and engage, reveals that your frequency is already shifting toward conscious creation. But here's where most people sabotage their own awakening. They demand proof before presence. They want to see evidence that reality is malleable before they'll commit to testing it. They're waiting for the universe to convince them they have power, instead of exercising that power to create the evidence. It's like standing in front of a door marked push and waiting for it to open on its own to prove it's really a door. The shift from accidental to intentional living happens when you realize that every moment of attention is a choice point. You're either reinforcing existing patterns or creating new ones. There's no neutral observation. When you look at your bank account with anxiety, you're not just observing numbers. You're collapsing probability waves into a reality that matches that anxious frequency. When you scroll through social media comparing yourself to others, you're not just browsing. You're programming your field with lack consciousness. Coincidence is just coherence you haven't recognized yet. Those synchronicities you occasionally notice, thinking of someone and they call, needing something and it appears, having a question and finding the answer unexpectedly, these aren't magical exceptions. They're glimpses of how reality always works when your frequency is coherent. The only difference between people who experience constant synchronicity and those who don't is conscious awareness of their creative power. Right now, in this moment, you're standing at the threshold between two ways of being. The old way says life happens to you. It says you're at the mercy of circumstances, that reality is fixed, that you must accept what is and make the best of it. This way feels safe because it's familiar, but it also feels like prison because deep down you know it's a lie. The new way says life happens through you. It says reality is responsive, that consciousness is creative, that what you observe consistently becomes what you experience. This way feels uncertain because it requires taking responsibility for everything in your life, but it also feels like freedom because it means nothing is permanent. Everything is changeable and you're never actually stuck. The threshold isn't about learning something new. It's about remembering something ancient. Every wisdom tradition has taught this truth in different languages. The mystics called it divine consciousness. The philosophers called it the observer effect. The quantum physicists call it wave function collapse. But they're all pointing to the same reality. Consciousness doesn't just witness, it creates. Your pause when you saw this message was your consciousness recognizing itself in these words. Not learning, but remembering. Not discovering, but uncovering what was always there beneath the layers of conditioning that taught you to be small, passive, reactive. That pause was your first conscious act of creation in this new paradigm. You chose to stop and listen to the part of you that knows you're more than you've been living. Your attention isn't just a flashlight illuminating reality. It's a creative force that shapes what becomes real. Every moment, through the simple act of observation, you're collapsing infinite waves of possibility into the single particle of your experience. This isn't metaphor or philosophy. It's the fundamental finding of quantum mechanics proven in thousands of experiments, and it's happening through you right now. The double-slit experiment changed everything we thought we knew about reality. When scientists fire particles through two slits, something impossible happens. Without observation, the particles behave like waves, passing through both slits simultaneously, existing in multiple states at once. But the moment they place a detector to observe which slit the particle passes through, it chooses one path. The mere act of observation collapses potential into actual. You are that observer, and your life is the experiment. But here's what transforms this from interesting theory to practical power. Your observation isn't neutral. It carries frequency. When you observe with fear, you collapse fearful realities. When you observe with gratitude, you collapse realities worth being grateful for. Your emotional state isn't just how you feel about what you're seeing. It's the frequency that determines what you're able to see and therefore create. Think about tuning a radio. All stations exist simultaneously in the space around you, but you only hear the one that matches your tuner's frequency. Reality works the same way. All possible versions of your life exist in the quantum field simultaneously. The version where you're thriving, struggling, loved, lonely, abundant, lacking. Your emotional frequency determines which station you're tuned to, which version you're collapsing into experience. If you're feeling that shift in understanding right now, that recognition that you've been creating all along without knowing it, then strengthen this new awareness by taking a simple but powerful action. Subscribe to this channel. More not as a passive follower, but as someone declaring to the field, I'm ready to observe consciously. I'm ready to create deliberately. Every video here is designed to stabilize your new frequency, to help you maintain conscious observation even when old patterns try to pull you back. Most people live in frequency chaos. Their thoughts broadcast one signal, I am successful, while their emotions transmit another, I'm terrified of failure, while their body holds a third frequency, chronic tension from years of stress. The field receives this static and reflects back exactly what's being transmitted. Confusion, inconsistency, and more of the same. You can't get a clear picture from a broken signal. Knowledge without embodiment is just entertainment. You can understand these principles intellectually, but if your nervous system stays locked in fight or flight, if your breathing remains shallow and anxious, if your body keeps score of old traumas, then your beautiful thoughts are like whispers in a hurricane. The field responds to your total broadcast, not just the pretty words you paint on top of static. The field itself is alive, responsive, intelligent. Physicists call it the zero-point field, an ocean of energy that underlies all matter. This field isn't separate from you. You're not in it like a fish in water. You are it, temporarily organized into the pattern you call yourself. When you shift your frequency, you're not sending a signal out to something external. You're reorganizing the field from within. What you stabilize, you amplify. This is the law behind all manifestation. When you hold a frequency consistently, not for minutes but throughout your day, the field begins reorganizing around that frequency. It has to, it's physics. Coherent signals create coherent realities. Chaotic signals create chaotic realities. The delay you experience between desire and manifestation isn't the universe being slow. It's the time it takes for your signal to become stable enough for reality to reorganize around it. Your thoughts initiate, but your sustained emotional frequency creates. A thought is like striking a match, quick, bright, but quickly extinguished. Emotion is the fuel that keeps the fire burning. When thought and emotion align, when your mental intention matches your felt frequency, you create what physicists call constructive interference, waves that amplify each other instead of canceling out. Your body isn't just carrying you through life. It's the antenna through which you broadcast and receive reality. Every cell, every heartbeat, every breath contributes to an electromagnetic signature that the quantum field reads and responds to. When people talk about raising your vibration, they're not speaking metaphorically. They're describing a measurable biological shift that you can create consciously, starting right now. Let's demystify the word quantum by grounding it in your biology. When you experience stress, your nervous system shifts into sympathetic dominance, fight or flight mode. In this state, your brain waves become chaotic, your heart rate variability decreases, and your electromagnetic field becomes incoherent. You're literally broadcasting static. The quantum field can't respond clearly to static, so it reflects back more chaos, more stress, more of what you're trying to escape. But when you consciously regulate your nervous system through specific breathing patterns, something remarkable happens. Your brain begins producing gamma waves, the highest frequency brain waves associated with heightened perception and conscious awareness. Scientists have measured this in meditation masters and found their gamma waves are off the charts, not just during meditation, but as their default state. They've literally rewired their biology to broadcast coherence continuously. The breath is your direct access point to quantum coherence. When you breathe slowly and deeply, specifically at about 6 breaths per minute, your heart rate variability increases and becomes more ordered. This isn't just relaxation, it's biological coherence. Your heart, which generates an electromagnetic field 5,000 times stronger than your brain, begins broadcasting a clear, powerful signal that organizes your entire system and extends several feet beyond your body. Here's a practice you can do right now. Breathe in for 5 counts. Hold for 5 counts, breathe out for 5 counts. Hold for 5 counts. This is called box breathing, and Navy SEALs use it to maintain coherence under extreme stress. But you're not using it to stay calm under fire. You're using it to fire a clear signal into the quantum field. With each breath cycle, you're literally tuning your biological antenna to broadcast coherence instead of chaos. Your emotional self-regulation isn't about suppressing feelings or forcing positivity. It's about becoming the conductor of your own electromagnetic orchestra. When you feel anger arising, you notice it without becoming it. When fear appears, you acknowledge it without letting it hijack your frequency. This isn't spiritual bypassing, it's frequency management. You're learning to maintain your broadcast regardless of what temporary emotions move through your field. The language you use creates biological reality. When you say, "I am exhausted," your cells receive that as a command and begin producing the biochemistry of exhaustion. When you say, "I am energized," different genes activate, different proteins are produced, different realities become possible. This isn't positive thinking. It's cellular programming through linguistic commands. Your cells are always listening, and they can't tell the difference between a joke, a complaint, and a direct order. Your micro-choices throughout the day are either reinforcing old frequencies or installing new ones. The way you get out of bed, rushed and anxious or deliberate and present. The way you eat, distracted and mechanical or conscious and grateful. The way you move through space and contracted and defensive or open and confident. Each choice is a frequency selection that your biology amplifies and broadcasts. Scientists have discovered that when you maintain coherent heart rhythms for just 3 minutes, your DNA literally begins to unwind and express differently. Genes that were dormant activate, proteins that support regeneration and vitality, increase production. Your telomeres, the protective caps on your chromosomes that determine biological aging, actually lengthen. You're not just changing your mind, you're changing your biology at the most fundamental level. The electromagnetic signature you're broadcasting right now is the result of every thought you've sustained, every emotion you've harbored, every breath you've taken. But here's the liberating truth. That signature can be changed in an instant. Not through force or will, but through coherent presence. When you align your breath, your heart rhythm, and your focused attention, you create a new electromagnetic signature that reality must respond to. This isn't belief or hope. It's biology becoming destiny. The person you've been isn't wrong or broken. They're just running outdated software. You're operating from programs installed before you had the consciousness to choose them. Before age 7, your brain was in theta state, downloading beliefs from your environment without any filter, without any ability to question or reject. Those programs are still running, still creating your reality, still broadcasting a frequency you didn't consciously choose. Your legacy code reveals itself in the stories you tell about yourself when no one's listening. I always struggle with money. People always leave me. I have to work hard for everything. These aren't observations of reality. They're commands to reality. Every time you reinforce these narratives, you're instructing the quantum field to maintain these patterns. You're not describing your life. You're prescribing it. Scarcity programming runs deeper than thought. It lives in your muscles as chronic tension, preparing for threats that don't exist. It lives in your shallow breathing, keeping you in low-level oxygen deprivation that maintains anxiety. It lives in your hurried movements, broadcasting urgency even when there's no deadline. Your body is still protecting you from dangers your ancestors faced, creating lack to keep you motivated to survive. The urgency addiction is particularly insidious. You've been conditioned to believe that importance equals urgency, that if something matters, you must feel stressed about it. This programming keeps you in perpetual sympathetic nervous system activation, broadcasting the frequency of not enough time, not enough resources, not enough me. The field responds by creating exactly that, never enough. But here's the revelation that changes everything. You can replace this legacy code with precise, congruent language and behaviors that install a new operating system, not through force or fake positivity, but through conscious, consistent frequency selection. The difference between performance and presence is the difference between pretending to be something and actually becoming it at the cellular level. When you perform confidence, you're wearing a mask that everyone, including the quantum field, can see through. Your words say, "I am powerful," but your micro-expressions, your muscle tension, your electromagnetic field all scream, "I'm terrified." Performance exhausts you because you're fighting against your own frequency. Presence energizes you because you're aligned with your chosen frequency. Clean language is your reprogramming tool. Instead of "I need to make money," which programs lack, you state "I am creating wealth," which programs abundance. Instead of "I hope this works," which programs doubt, you declare "I am discovering what works," which programs curiosity and inevitability. Every word is a command to your cells and a signal to the field. The resistance you feel when trying to speak new language isn't psychological, it's biological. Your cells have receptors specifically designed for your old emotional patterns. When you stop producing the chemicals of worry, anger, or lack, Your cells literally go through withdrawal. They send signals to your brain demanding their familiar chemical fix. This is why change feels uncomfortable. You're not just changing your mind. You're detoxing your biology from old frequencies. Here's how to maintain multiple possibilities without defaulting to the oldest one. Hold them lightly. Instead of gripping one future tightly, you remain open to all futures that match your chosen frequency. You're not attached to specific outcomes but to specific frequencies. This isn't indifference, it's magnetic. When you stop chasing specific forms and start embodying consistent frequencies, matching forms chase you. Your old identity will fight for its survival. It will create chaos to prove it's needed. It will manufacture problems to justify its presence. It will replay old traumas to maintain its relevance. This isn't self-sabotage, it's self-preservation from a self that's becoming obsolete. Recognize this resistance as confirmation that real change is happening. The clean break happens not through rejection, but through selection. You don't fight the old self, you simply stop feeding it attention. You stop telling its stories. You stop speaking its language. You stop moving in its patterns. Without your attention, it gradually loses coherence and dissolves. Meanwhile, with every conscious breath, word, and action, you're installing and stabilizing your new frequency signature. Reality responds to consistency, not intensity. You don't need perfect practice for hours. You need precise practice for minutes, repeated until your new frequency becomes your default state. The protocol I'm about to share isn't another morning routine to add to your collection. It's a systematic rewiring sequence that transforms scattered intention into inevitable manifestation. The sequence follows a natural order that your nervous system can actually integrate. Feel, select, stabilize, sequence, signal. Each step builds on the previous, creating momentum that makes the next step automatic rather than effortful. This isn't about adding more to your day, it's about bringing consciousness to what you're already doing. Feel first. Before you open your eyes in the morning, before thoughts flood in, take 30 seconds to simply feel your body's current state. No judgment, no story, just pure sensation. This baseline awareness tells you exactly what frequency you're starting from. You can't navigate to a new frequency if you don't know your current position. Select your frequency for the day. Not your goals, not your tasks, your frequency. Choose one core feeling state you want to embody. Calm confidence, playful creativity, grounded presence. This becomes your North Star, the frequency you return to regardless of what happens. When chaos arrives, you don't abandon ship. You return to your selected frequency, stabilize through your morning anchor. Before you engage with the world's frequencies, emails, news, other people's urgencies, you stabilize your chosen frequency. 5 minutes of conscious breathing while holding your selected feeling state. 3 minutes of movement that embodies that frequency. 2 minutes speaking your reality into existence with clean, precise language. This 10-minute investment determines the next 16 hours. Sequence your day around state management, not task management. Instead of organizing by what you need to do, organize by what state you need to be in. Batch similar frequency tasks together. Do creative work when you're in expanded states. Handle logistics when you're in grounded states. Stop forcing yourself to do high-frequency tasks from low-frequency states. Signal completion with evening integration. Your nervous system needs closure to integrate new patterns. Before sleep, acknowledge 3 moments where you successfully maintained your chosen frequency, despite challenges. Feel the sensation of those victories in your body. This isn't gratitude journaling, it's success programming. You're training your neurons to recognize and repeat frequency victories. Your attention diet matters more than your food diet. What you consume through your eyes and ears becomes the raw material for your frequency broadcast. Unconscious scrolling is like eating junk food for every meal. It might fill you, but it depletes your actual energy. Curate your inputs as carefully as a professional athlete curates their nutrition. State work before strategy work, always. You can have the perfect plan, but if you execute it from a chaotic state, you'll create chaotic results. 5 minutes of state regulation before important conversations. 3 minutes of coherent breathing before creative work. 1 minute of frequency selection before responding to triggering messages. The state you're in when you act determines the outcome more than the action itself. The one action close transforms insight into inevitability. Every time you receive an insight, take one immediate action to anchor it in reality. Read something inspiring, send one message from that inspired state. Feel abundant? Make one generous gesture. Experience clarity? Make one decision you've been postponing. This trains your nervous system that insights lead to action, that frequency shifts create reality shifts. Your body needs proof that the new frequency is safe. Start with microdoses of your desired reality. If abundance feels unsafe, start with 60 seconds of feeling wealthy. If confidence feels foreign, practice it for the length of one phone call. If peace feels impossible, create it for the duration of one breath. Your nervous system learns through successful repetitions, not through forced marathons. The protocol adapts to your life, not the other way around. Busy day? Do the minimum, 30 seconds of morning frequency selection, 3 conscious breaths before transitions, 1 evening acknowledgement. Spacious day? Extend each practice, layer them, play with variations. The key is never missing, not perfect execution. The person you're becoming already exists, not in some distant future, but right now, parallel to this moment, broadcasting on a frequency you can access immediately. Linear time is the illusion that keeps you waiting, preparing, postponing. Quantum time is the reality where all versions of you exist simultaneously, and transformation is simply a matter of tuning into a different station that's already broadcasting. Your future self isn't ahead of you. They're beside you, operating at a different frequency in the same quantum field. When you feel that pull towards something greater, that inexplicable knowing that more is possible, you're not imagining potential. You're sensing an actual version of yourself that has already realized that potential. The delay you experience isn't the time it takes to become that person. It's the time it takes to tune into their frequency. Think about this. Every decision you've ever made created a split in reality where both choices continued to exist in parallel timelines. The you who took the risk and the you who played it safe are both real, both experiencing their respective realities right now. When you understand this, waiting becomes irrelevant. You're not waiting to become someone. You're selecting which existing version of yourself to embody. Delays are feedback, not punishment. When what you want doesn't immediately manifest, it's not because you're unworthy or doing it wrong. It's because there's a frequency mismatch between who you're being and what you're calling in. The delay is the time it takes for your nervous system to acclimate to the new frequency, for your cells to recalibrate, for your electromagnetic field to stabilize at the new vibration. Trust and flow replace force and control when you understand that everything you desire already exists. You stop trying to create from scratch and start tuning into what's already created. It's the difference between trying to compose a symphony versus tuning into a radio station that's already playing it. One requires immense effort and expertise. The other requires simply adjusting your dial. The comfort with uncertainty becomes your creative superpower. Most people need to know how before they'll commit to what. But in quantum reality, the how doesn't exist until you commit to the frequency. The path appears as you walk it. The resources show up as you need them. The connections manifest as you become ready for them. Uncertainty isn't the absence of a plan. It's the presence of infinite possibilities. Your future self is constantly sending you signals, intuitive hits, unexplainable knowings, sudden inspirations. These aren't random neural firings. They're quantum communications from the version of you that has already walked this path. When you get a strong feeling to reach out to someone, to take a specific action, to go to a certain place, you're receiving guidance from the you who knows how this all turns out. The quantum jump happens when you stop trying to become and simply decide to be. You don't work your way up to confidence. You select it from the quantum menu and embody it now. You don't earn worthiness, you claim it as your current frequency. You don't develop into your future self. You tune into them and let their frequency reorganize your present reality. Here's the practice. Close your eyes and feel the version of you who has everything you desire. Not visualize and feel. How do they breathe? How do they hold their body? What's their baseline emotional state? Now, instead of seeing this as a future state to achieve, recognize it as a parallel state to tune into. Breathe their breath. Hold their posture. Feel their feelings. You're not pretending, you're tuning in. The moment you fully embody your future self's frequency, time collapses. What seemed like it would take years suddenly happens in weeks. What felt impossible becomes inevitable, not because you've manipulated reality, but because you've finally aligned with a version of reality that already exists. You've stopped swimming upstream toward your future and started flowing with the current of your chosen timeline. You've completed the transmission. From the moment you paused at the beginning to this moment now, Something has fundamentally shifted in your understanding of how reality operates. You're no longer the person who clicked play, hoping for another technique or secret. You've become someone who understands that you've been creating all along. The only difference now is you know how to do it consciously. Let's connect the circuit we've built. You began as an observer, unconsciously collapsing reality through scattered attention and inherited frequencies. You discovered that your pause wasn't random but coherence recognizing itself. You learned that attention isn't passive but creative, that your body is an antenna broadcasting reality, that your old programs can be overwritten with precise language and consistent practice. You understand now that your future self isn't distant but parallel, available not through time but through frequency. The shift from noise to coherent signal isn't a one-time event. It's a daily practice that becomes easier with each repetition. Every conscious breath is rewriting your biology. Every moment of sustained coherence is reprogramming your field. Every choice to maintain your selected frequency despite circumstances is strengthening your command over reality. You're not learning to manifest. You're remembering that you've always been manifesting, just unconsciously until now. The simple next steps are already clear. Tomorrow morning, before the world's chaos rushes in, take 30 seconds to select your frequency, not your goals, but your state. Throughout the day, return to that frequency like a compass pointing north. Before sleep, acknowledge one moment where you maintained coherence despite challenges. That's it. That's how you begin rewiring reality, not through complexity, but through consistency. Here's your vow, should you choose to speak it. I am no longer waiting for reality to change. I am changing the frequency from which I observe reality. I am no longer scattered signal, but coherent broadcast. I am no longer reactive, but creative. This is not hope, this is physics. This is not belief, this is biology. This is who I am now. If this transmission has activated something within you, if you feel that shift from passive to active, from waiting to creating, then seal this transformation with action. Subscribe to this channel now, not as a follower but as a conscious creator joining a field of others who are done accepting default reality. Every video here is designed to strengthen your coherent signal, to remind you of your creative authority when old patterns try to reclaim you. The proof of everything you've learned won't come from me or any external source. It will come from your own experience as you apply these principles. Start small. Select a frequency tomorrow morning and maintain it for 1 hour. Watch how differently people respond to you. Notice what opportunities suddenly appear. Feel how your body relaxes into coherence instead of fighting against chaos. You came here through quantum coherence. Your frequency matched this message at the perfect moment. You're leaving as a conscious creator who understands that every moment is a choice point. Every breath is creative. Every sustained frequency becomes reality. The gap between who you are and who you're becoming has collapsed. You're not the same person who started this video. And that old version can never fully return because you now know the truth of your creative power. Remember, reality isn't happening to you, it's responding to you. The field isn't separate from you, you're reorganizing it from within. Your future self isn't ahead of you, they're beside you, broadcasting on a frequency you can access right now. The wait is over. The preparation is complete. The knowledge has been transmitted. What remains is the simplest and most powerful thing: conscious, consistent application. From this moment forward, you're not hoping for change, you're broadcasting it. You're not waiting for evidence, you're creating it. You're not following reality, you're commanding it through the coherent signal of your conscious presence. The field is listening. Your new frequency is registered. Your shift from observer to commander is complete. Welcome to conscious creation. Welcome to coherent reality. Welcome to the life that begins the moment you decide to broadcast instead of receive. Until our frequencies meet again, remember, you are the signal. You are the creator. You are the proof.